Hi, everybody. Welcome to One Down Dog on Demand. Niki here. Namaste. This is a 60-minute back care class. For this session, you'll need a comfortable place to lay down on the floor. A mat is optional, but if you have one, great. You'll also want a yoga block and something like a blanket or a folded towel or beach towel. And that's it. Right? If you'd like to use the playlist for this class, you can check it out in the description below, and I'll give you the 3, 2, 1 to press play. Right? 3, 2, 1, mood music. All right. So we won't start seated because sitting is pretty tough on the lower back, which is what we're focusing on today. So you'll want your block close by. We'll use the blanket a little later. Lie down on the back with your feet on the floor. Now, if your lower back is really tender, have the feet wider than your hips so the knees can knock in together. Right? Then rest your hands on your belly. Make any little adjustments to your body posture, your clothing, your hair, all those things that would otherwise distract you, so that you can actually mentally focus. Take a couple big breaths. So much of the tension we experience is not just physical, it's also mental and emotional. So a big part of how we begin to take care of back pain and general discomfort is by focusing on the breath. Partly because none of us breathe deeply enough throughout the day, especially if we're at work or preoccupied. So the body is requiring a lot of oxygen. Right? Secondly, when we breathe deeply, like we will over this class, we begin to communicate directly to the nervous system about whether we are safe and can therefore relax and heal as needed, or if there's some threat, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. So I'm going to have you start with both hands on the lower belly. And first, just notice the contact there. Right? Maybe at first you notice the feeling of your body under your clothing or the texture of your clothing. Right, now take a really deep breath in so you actually feel your belly puff up like a balloon towards your hands. And then exhale through your mouth. And what you're feeling for is that the belly is actually sinking down as opposed to bulging forward. Right, so try that again. Breathing in, let the belly rise up towards your handprints. Out through the mouth. Notice if the belly is sinking, even a little bit. 3 more rounds. It's called belly breathing. As this breathing pattern starts to feel more comfortable to you, you want to exaggerate it a little bit so you're increasing the amount of oxygen you're getting. One more round of belly breath. Right, now, keep that going. We're going to start to add the physical movement to the breath pattern, right? Which should imply how important the breath is. And I'll remind you throughout because it's hard to remember. Right, bring the right knee in and begin to press your hands to your knee and your knee to your hands. So it's sort of like when a baseball meets a glove, right? So there's impact there. You can keep your left foot on the floor. As you exhale, bend your arms, bringing the knee closer to your chest, maybe even touching your ribs, but that's not required. As you inhale, straighten the arms, and the knee will naturally move away from your body. right? Work this into the breathing pattern we just established. As you inhale, the belly puffs up. And so we basically move the leg out of the way so the belly can do that. Exhaling, the belly naturally shrinks and the knee can come close. Right? Depending on how exactly you're feeling, you could try extending the left leg down. But let's say you've come to class today with a good amount of physical discomfort or even pain. Take the gentler versions initially just so you can really hear if the body is ready to go further. Right? When you're carrying pain or inflammation in your tissues, usually less is more, right? Especially if you're actively recovering from an injury. Exhale, knee comes close. Inhale, arms go straight. Right, now the next time the knee comes in, pause there. Take your hands from the knee to the back of your thigh and glue your thigh and your hands together. Right, drop the shoulders, pairing breath to movement as you inhale. Extend the leg upwards. As you exhale, bend. Right, now my eyes are open. I'm looking at my knee to track it. Right, as you inhale, the knee can stay a little bent, right? Especially if you don't have a lot of give in the hamstrings. Exhaling, the knee bends straight down. Inhaling, lift up. Exhaling, bend down. Try it again. All right, this time, legs stay straight-ish, right? You might be here and your hamstrings might be rattled. That's all right. Just be where you are and keep breathing so the tissues in the body understand that even this hamstring stretch is not a threat, right? It might be challenging, but it's not a threat, right? In that existential way. Right now, as you exhale, bend the arms, bringing the leg closer to your body. Breathing in, straighten. Exhaling, bend. Right, let's say that maybe you experience sciatica sometimes or piriformis syndrome. If this is the side you experience that on, you want to do a couple extra on this side. Right, one more, unless you're doing more on your own. Right, now rebend the left leg. Go right ankle to left thigh. Right, either hands can rest on the belly just to track your breath. Or if you're feeling pretty good about your mindful breathing pattern, let the arms open wide. Now, as you exhale, legs are going to drop to your left. The foot doesn't have to touch the ground. Breathing in, lift back up. As you exhale, lower body tilts. Right, we're working here, backside of the upper hip. Inhaling, center. Right, one breath at a time. One more. Right, breathing in through center. Clasp your hands behind your left thigh. Bring your foot up off the floor. Right arm goes through the window of your legs to grab hold. Right, now depending on your proportions, you can also use a strap and reach it around your thigh, sort of lasso your leg. Right, same if your hip is just really tight. As you exhale, pull the legs towards you, just like we've been practicing, increasing the sensation. Big breath in as you release the effort. Exhale fully, bend the arms. Two more. Breathing in, both feet come to the floor. Hands return to the belly. 3 rounds of belly breath just to practice it. Inhaling, belly rises like a balloon. Out through the mouth. Releasing tension and effort. 2 more. Cool. Before we move on to side 2, step your feet a little wide. Drop your knees to the right. Keep your hands on the belly. Right now, your knees might come close to the ground like mine look, but they don't have to. Right? The important thing is just that your spine is twisted a little bit. Helps to juice all the connective tissue in the back so that it feels more hydrated and more vital. Big belly breath. On your next exhale, untwist. Okay, doing all that now on the other side. All right, so feet are on the floor. As you exhale, left knee comes in. All right, let the belly shrink. Breathing in, arms go straight. Single wind removing pose. Exhale, pull. Inhale, straight. Find a rhythm here, just like a dancer to music. Right? As yoga students, we focus on the breath to establish the pace of action. And even if this is way slower than you're used to operating, chances are, if you're feeling pretty misaligned or there's pain in your body, you're not moving as fast as you normally would anyway. So just honor what the body is requesting of you. All right, we've got one more here. Now keep the thigh close, wrap your hands behind the thigh, and as you inhale, extend the leg vertically. Footprint to the ceiling, you don't have to go absolutely straight. Exhaling, bend to relieve the hamstrings. Right? If you have a lot of tension in your body, you might find there's this kind of stuttering as you're moving. It's just tension. Try to keep your breathing smooth, right? Sending that nonverbal signal to your nervous system that all is well, right? And eventually, any bracing that the body is using will start to dial down, and a natural kind of ease will take place. In yoga, we call that sukha. Keep the legs straight. As you exhale, bend the arms. Exhale on the hard part. Breathe in on the easier part. Three more. Just empty the mind. Focus completely on your breath. Right, remember, if this is your tighter side, if this is your sciatic side, you're going to do a couple extra. Right, and then you'll just join us when you're ready. Right, go left ankle, right thigh. Tipping to your right, hands can return to the belly to track the breath, or arms open. Right, next exhale, tilt the low body to your right. Foot doesn't have to touch the ground, but if it does, you want your toes angled in the same direction as your right knee. Right, come back up, breathe in. 3 more. Deliberately slow yourself down. Right, for those of you traveling through life with joint pain, arthritis, repetitive stress, slow, steady movement is going to be easier on your joints than fast or sudden movement. Right? It also helps to train the other tissues, muscles, and tendons to support the joint, which is great for aging. Hopefully we all get the privilege to do that. Right? Coming back up now for eye of the needle pose. Feel free to use a strap. Otherwise, foot comes up, Hold behind your right thigh. Left arm goes through that window. As you exhale, pull towards you, increasing the stretch. Breathe in to release some of it. Exhale, lean into it. Right. Healthy tissues, muscles and fascia are able to do this easily. They can contract, they can stretch without getting stuck, without being stubborn. One more for good measure. Again, if this is your chronically tighter side, you're going to hang a little longer here. Right, release both feet to the floor. Hands return to the belly for a moment. Take a big belly breath. On your next exhale, drop your knees to the right and either keep your hands on your belly or let the arms open wide. Right, now you're here for 2 exhales. Belly breath on the inhale. One more. Exhale through center. Knees knocked, feet together. It's called constructive rest pose, right? Hands come to the belly, 3 rounds, just really committing it to muscle memory. Breathe in through your nose, let the belly rise. Out through the mouth with sound. One more. Good. Now, find your block. Hopefully, it's within arm's reach. So it's like trying on clothes. You got to see which one fits best. You're either going to go block long-wise between the thighs or middle setting between the thighs, right? And one's just going to feel better to you. So figure that out. Then you want to create a good firm grip to it so it doesn't just fall out. Right? And then feel that your knees and feet are the same distance as your thighs, right? We call this a parallel base, and it happens to be super stabilizing for the lower back, right? So as we go into this strength training portion, you want to try to keep this base exactly the same, right? Same belly breathing we've been practicing. You're just going to add a little more oomph to the practice. Type A people, that's not your invitation to go full throttle, okay? Keep it at like 75, 80%, right? Spread the toes, press them down. Arms are resting on the floor next to you. Take a big breath in. Breathing out, push through your feet, lift your hips just a little bit, right? Now notice if your lower back feels like it's kind of arched or hanging. That's not great for the lower back. You want to draw length through your tailbone, sort of like you're scooping the bottom of your butt towards the underside of your knees, right? And then just to check, give a little tap to your thighs, to your butt. They should feel more engaged than usual. Right, press the rest of the way up. Pull up through the thighs. Press down through your heels. Big breath. As you exhale, roll yourself down. Ribs towards tailbone, feeling the sinking return to your belly. Okay, let's try that. Just rolling through it, kind of like a gentle vinyasa. Squeeze through the thighs. As you exhale, press through your feet and lift, bridge pose. Stay for the inhale, ground your heels. Breathing out, roll yourself down, ribs, lower back, tailbone. Big breath on the back. One more, then we'll add the arms. Exhale, push through the feet to lift. Right, we're not moving up and down on purpose. Next exhale, roll down, encouraging the core to start collaborating with the glutes and legs. Right, now listen, breathing in, arms reach up. As you exhale, hips lift. extended bridge pose. Stay for your inhale. As you exhale, everything comes down together, rolling down bone by bone. See if you can land your butt and your hands at the same time. Take some concentration. Let's try it again. Breathing in, arms first. Exhaling, hips next. Full breath in. Rolling down. Try to decelerate so the hands can catch up. Up to 3 more, which means you can stop right now and take a break, right? 3 more if you're with me. Inhale up. Exhale, hips. Exhale to lower. Try to refine it as it gets more familiar to you. 2 more. If your leg muscles are under-conditioned, you're tired, you're dehydrated, you might feel like you're gonna cramp. Keep breathing, but take a break. Right? Cramping muscles are suffocating muscles. Sounds dramatic, but it's true. They need oxygen. All right, release your block. Okay, bring knees to chest. And you'll either feel inclined to just stay right here for a minute, or some of you need movement so you can roll around your lower back, or even rock side to side. And you just want it to feel good and nourishing. All right. Keep your knees lifted in. Bring your hands to the back of your thighs. And then moving 2 legs as if they're one leg. Breathe in, extend straight, footprints to the ceiling. As you exhale, point your feet and bend the knees. All right, we're going to attempt to coordinate ankles, knees, hips, lower back. Flex your feet at the bottom. Inhale, extend straight up. Exhale, point and bend. Breathing in, flex and lift. Exhale, point and bend. Flex, inhale, lift. Point, exhale, bend. Try up to 3 more. If you're practicing with eyes open, check in on your parallel base. Are your knees parallel, or did they kind of knock in or separate? Just try to notice that stuff. Cool, bring knees close to your armpits. Let the knees intentionally separate and rock a little bit across the back of your hips. I know some of you love happy baby pose, so here's the gentlest version of it. Take your hands behind the knees, separate them, let gravity do all the work for you. All right, be careful though, if the lower back is really tight, you might be kind of here, right? So it's okay to have the knees further away. So you're always letting the lower back remember how to soften and become less compressed. All right, 2 full breaths here. End of your next exhale, close the knees together. Right, you're gonna roll to your side and then come up into table pose. If you love having extra knee padding, grab your blanket, slide it under the knees. Not required, but might be super helpful. Right, keep your block close by. And as you come into table, check out a few things. Just like we did in parallel base for bridge, you want your shoulders over your wrists and your knees under your hips. Right? Now focusing in on the lower back. As you exhale, round it up, curling the tail down, dropping your head, creating this rainbow shape with your spine. As you inhale, do the exact opposite. Make a hammock shape with your body, pointing your tail up, lifting your head. As you exhale, round in. Inhaling to arch. Head and tail lift up. Belly drops. Keep going back and forth, connecting your breath to your body movement without moving too quickly. It's all right if you end up holding the breath for a second. Maybe you feel something interesting or you get distracted. That's just part of the practice, getting distracted and coming back to it. All right, now just start to focus a little more on what's going on in the middle of your shoulder blades. So regardless of how inflexible you might think you are, we all get a ton of movement in the lower back, which is why it tends to ache a lot. Right? But we all don't get enough movement in the upper back. So for these last 3 cycles of cat and cow, try to bring as much movement and attention to the place right in between your shoulder blades. Right? As you round in for cat, be careful that the shoulders don't sneak up towards your ears. Last one. Right? Now, with straight arms, you're back in table pose. Start to roll your shoulders. Right? Just like if we were sitting at a table or something and I was like, hey, roll your shoulders. Don't think too much about it or you'll get kind of stuck in the process. Right? Let your body figure it out. Right? So much of our practice is about dropping the rational thinking mind and returning to the visceral feeling body mind. Right? Now what you're feeling for, regardless of what it looks like, is this kind of churning up or sliding around the upper back, right? And this creates a really hydrating effect for the tight muscles of the upper body. Take one more, right? And then if you'd like, let's say you carry a lot of neck tension in your body, grab your block, right? Use it as a forehead pillow rather than bringing your head all the way to the ground. It's all right to have the arms bent, but you could go straight arms if the shoulders appreciate that. As we bring more activity into the body, it's going to be more challenging to breathe towards the belly because that's a very relaxing, grounding kind of breath. Start to breathe towards the upper back. Remember that we have lots of lung tissue there. Let go of any tension around the eyes, any tension in the mouth or tongue. If your arms are bent, please begin to extend them until the elbows are off the floor. Press down into the palms and then use them to push your hips a little closer to the heels. It's all right if you still have a huge gap between your heels and the butt. Right? That may or may not close with practice, doesn't really matter. What's important is that the lower spine is rounding down. All right, next inhale, pull yourself forward into table. Feel free to move your block out of the way. All right, come to your fingertips. If your hands are sensitive or easily fatigued, you can take breaks as you need to. Breathing in, pull your chest and head up, lift your tail, begin to pull your chest forward also. Right? As you exhale, child's pose, no block. Press with your hands, right? And then we'll flow through this a couple times. Inhale, fingertips, Variation of cat and cow. Exhale, child's pose. Press with your hands, dropping butt towards heels. 2 more. Last one. Okay. Come through center. If you're on a blanket, move that out of the way. You don't need any props for this, just a little bit of floor space. Right? Carefully walk the knees back. You might come down through a tricep push-up, but if that's not in your system right now, just carefully bring your body to the floor. Try not to collapse onto the ground. Right? Make little adjustments. Eventually, land with your legs straight back, tops of the feet pressing into the floor, and your toenails, right? Try to get your pinky toes to open away from the 4th toes, right? They may not reply, but you're trying anyway. Right, now, hands are next to your chest, not under your shoulders, not way back, right? Next to your chest. Pull the fingers open. Could be forehead on the ground. Could be head just levitating off the floor. As you inhale, pull the shoulder blades close together. As you exhale, slide them apart. Breathing in, pull tight together like you're squeezing out a sponge. Exhale, gradually release the tension. All right, now when the upper back muscles are chronically tight, they're also under-conditioned, which technically means they're weak. They don't respond well to a lot of action, right? Which is tough because these are the muscles that help to keep our upper body posture. All right, so we're just turning them on, waking them up. Right, this time you're gonna squeeze the shoulder blades together and keep it. Breathing in, lift your chest and head from the ground. All right, coming into low cobra. Feel free to take breaks whenever you need to. All right, notice that the 4 sides of my neck are completely open, right? There's no kinking or bending in the neck. Right? As you exhale, come down. Right? Breathing in, pull shoulder blades together. Exhale, head comes up. Press through your legs. Full breath here. Exhale to lower. You're not grounded super heavy through your hands, right? We want to make this about the mid-spine working. Try it again. Light touch as you inhale, shoulder blades. As you exhale, chest and head. All right, full breath here. Exhale, lower. Keep the legs engaged until you're actually down. Then you can let them go. All right, 2 more. Shoulder blades, inhale. Mid-back, exhale. All right, retraining our posture muscles to prevent us from slouching. Exhale, lower down. 1 more. Breathe out, release. Turn your head to one side and release your arms down. Palms up. Let the shoulders deliberately just flop to the floor. Hey, you could let your heels flop. You could wag your little doggy tail. All right, do a little check-in now. How you doing? How's the body temperature? If you walked into class today with pain or upset in the physical body, how's that doing? Has it changed at all? Has it moved location? All right, let's keep going. Now we're focusing on the lower back. So a couple things to consider. Make sure that you're not just like clenching the butt. That's a protective mechanism for the lower back, and it might happen reflexively. So I'm saying that so you can stay aware of your butt. Make sure you don't clench too firmly. Instead, hands next to your chest. Press down into your feet. your thighs, right, and your hips. So if you were to try to get your hands in your front pockets, you couldn't, right? Press down, right? Head is slightly lifted, folded blanket under the forehead. You can even go forearm to the forehead if that stresses out the neck to keep it lifted the whole time, right? Just add a little pillowing, no big deal. All right, now, as you exhale, left leg comes straight up. You still can't get your hand in your pocket. It's sealed to the floor, right? Pull the leg back like you're gonna, press the elevator button with your big toe. As you exhale, release the leg down. Now it should feel like one leg is longer than the other. Breathing in here, right? Like you're getting fuel for the next action. Exhale, right leg comes straight up. Don't bend the knee. Right now, the glutes are toned, hamstrings, calves, sole of foot, all the good stuff. Reach through the leg. Keep that length as you lower down. Right, you can see my toes are off the yoga mat because now my legs are longer, or at least it feels that way. All right, now both legs together. Breathe in first. Exhale, lift. Not too high. Pull the toes open. Maybe if this feels fine, there's no compression or squeezing in the lower back, you exhale the legs up, half locust pose. Continuously lengthen. Right? You're trying to get the muscles to remember how to be muscles, right? Which means they got to be tight and strong and long without getting stuck. Breathe out, come down. Turn your head, right? Rest for a sec. Maybe you close the eyes to get a better internal look at how you're doing. Right, we're not done with the back of the legs yet. Press yourself up to table. Grab your blanket. If it's really thick, you'll probably want to unfold it a little bit. And you're going to place it where your hip pockets were a moment ago. Right, and this is going to help give you feedback so you don't engage the wrong body part, right? Carefully bring yourself down. So you want your hip bones on the blanket. Right now, for a lot of people, they think, well, my lower back hurts and my hamstrings are really tight, so it must be that I'm getting back pain because my legs are too tight. Maybe. But also, there's this big muscle in the front, right? It comes down along the V of the inner hips called the psoas. You've probably heard of it, especially if you've taken my classes already. So we're going to try to strengthen that muscle group, strengthen the hamstrings, and relax the lower back and glutes, right? So either go hands stacked or forearms stacked. And again, just like trying on clothes, you're gonna figure out the one that feels better to you. As you exhale, press the body towards the blanket, right? So that's hips, lower belly, pubic bone, top of the thighs. Get everything flat to the floor. Keep that, bend your left leg. Right, now notice, maybe even touch to get the feedback. Notice if the left hip crease puckered up, right? Like you could slip your hand in your pocket. That's an indication that those muscles are too tight and weak, right? It's not a big problem. We're gonna work on it right now, but it's something to notice, right? So you've gotta seal the hip to the floor. Keep that. And then as you exhale, push your footprint to the ceiling so your thigh comes off the floor. Breathing in, lower it down. 4 more. Exhale, push footprint to the ceiling. Inhale to lower. Right? Be diligent without being forceful. Again, if you're not used to conditioning your butt and hamstrings this intentionally, you might feel like you're going to cramp. You might feel sore tomorrow, believe it or not. Release the leg. right? Wag your hips a little. Maybe you want to windshield wiper the legs, bending at the knees, flap the legs side to side. All right. Cool. So it's side 2. Stack the other hand or forearm on top just to keep it interesting. Right? Seal the front of your hips to the floor so your pelvis is grounded. Right? This creates some space in the lower back. And then we train the supporting muscles of the glutes and hamstrings to engage and release so that the lower back doesn't take the brunt of our burden all day long. Flex your right foot, bend your knee. Press your hip to the floor. And as you exhale, lift your footprint up. Surface of the thigh lifts. Inhale to lower. Right, now you've just got 4 more that you're welcome to take a break or 2. Try not to rush through it just because it's weird or you don't feel like you're good at it. Keep focusing on the breath. That's your best guide. 1 more. Next exhale, release the bent legs straight. Again, wag or windshield wiper or just rest for a second. Okay, notice any uptick or downtick in your heart rate. Right, sometimes when we're working a body part that we haven't been connected to in a while, we can overexert or hold our breath. So just check in. All right. Take your hands next to your chest. You're either going into child's pose, stretching out the lower back, or maybe if you're practicing down dog, you're ready for your first down dog. Right? Now I'm going to suggest if you're taking down dog in this back care class, that you do it in a way that supports the back. So when you lift up, you're going to keep your heels high. You're going to keep your knees generously bent, and then pull the top of your thigh up. Right? And then press the hips back. So the idea is to turn the pelvis upside down and decompress the spine with gravity. Sink your heels a little, right? But try not to round your back. There's no benefit there. Right? Those of you traveling through life with a ton of neck tension, be careful. There is some repetitive stress that happens in the yoga world. For example, if you're in down dog and you're always looking at your feet, I get it, they're cute. This is a weird angle to look at your feet from. It's interesting, but it's not great for your neck. You want to angle your neck in the same line as your biceps, which means you're actually looking a little bit forward, but not forward. Final breath. All right, hands and knees, everybody. All right, let's find a seat. All right, so there's a couple ways to sit to take care of the back. If you're going to sit on your shins, you might like to sit on the blanket, right? If you want to try sitting on the shins, but you're like, my knees, my ankles, right? You take your block this way, wide. Place it between the heels, and there you go. You've got a little stool to sit on, right? The other way is to sit like how I was at the very beginning. Block across the bottom of the butt, legs crossed, right? Or 1 foot in front of the other. In both of these situations, what you're looking for is this ergonomic position where your hip crease, you could see the wrinkle in my pants, hip crease higher than the knees, right? And that means that the lower back isn't collapsed, okay? Cool, we're only here for a moment. Lift your lower back upwards, right? Like you're actually decompressing it. Take a couple big breaths. Bring awareness to the place in between your shoulder blades at the upper back. right? That place I mentioned earlier in cat-cow that tends to be really tight. Try to pull the shoulder blades together a little bit so the chest comes up, right? The whole rib cage lifts away from the belly. Right? Just sitting on the floor, on the couch, at your desk, wherever, is considered an intermediate yoga practice because it takes a lot of muscle tension, healthy muscle exertion to stay upright. Right? I want to show you from the side what I'm talking about, but stay where you are. Right? If we were to sit here for a long time, gravity would start to collapse us, right? Because it's hard to sit, right? And you start to slump, and then the head starts to lean forward, creating tons of tension in the neck, not good tension, right? And lots of stretching in the back, but not good stretching, right? So I want to give you this visual to travel with off the mat. Right? Sense your best posture here. Bring awareness to your head, your skull. And imagine it like a big balloon, like a birthday balloon. Right? So it's sort of lightweight and it can move pretty freely. Right? And then the long string attached to it is your spine with one of those little anchors, like the floor anchor, so the balloon doesn't float away. That's your tailbone. Right? So as much as your head and spine are reaching towards the sky, your tailbone is kind of holding you back, right? Which creates traction, right? We call it movement of opposition in yoga, where you're being pulled in two directions at once, as opposed to being crushed in one direction all the time. Right? So just sit with it for a moment. All right, and then let's come out of it. You're going to come off of your block. If you have a blanket on the mat, feel free to use it as a little pillow, or just bring it off to the side. Right, you'll want your block. Have it close by within arm's reach. Right, carefully bring yourself down. Try not to clunk to the floor. Maybe you can roll yourself down, landing on the back. Right, now as you come onto the back, the floor is doing all the work for you, which is why we do a lot of this class on the back, right? Then we could just focus on the breath and the movements, right? Grab your block, hold it on the short side. So you're gonna insert it underneath you wide ways, right? Lift your hips for bridge, slide the block across your sacrum, right? That's the flat bone that sits in between your hips. Right? The lower spine, the lumbar spine, is nowhere near the ground. Your shoulder blades are on the floor. Let your arms rest. Now, this might be enough. You might be getting lots of good feedback from the hips and psoas from the lower spine. Right? And if that's true, cool, just stay. Right? If you want to go a little further into the psoas, you know that's an area of your body that's weak and tight. It needs to be lengthened. You're going to go one leg straight down. And if you get a lot of feedback from the inside of the hip bone, just wait for it to dissolve a little bit. Right? And then once it does, you can go both legs straight. Right? Keep your feet energized a little. Once things get quiet at the inside of the hips, just let the effort of the body go. I don't know if you've been practicing with your eyes open, close your eyes. Keep your inner gaze at the lower back. So you continue to observe any sensation there. Come back to your belly breath if it doesn't happen naturally. This is the kind of shape you can be in for upwards of 10 minutes at a time. All right, so feel free to pause the video if you just want to hang here for a bit. Now there is an expiration for a shape like this. Right, so when you're feeling it, you'll know, but if you're not sure that you know what you're feeling, let me try to describe it to you. Right? If you feel a kind of pressure building around the tailbone, like things are being smushed or getting hardened instead of softening with relaxation, that's how you know, right? The body communicates to us through sensation, right? And when we can just start to listen, we can kind of learn the accent or the dialect of the body's language. Right? Now, when you come out, you're going to go one leg at a time and put the feet on the floor. Right? Bridge pose as you inhale. Lift your hips. Slide the block out of the way. Roll yourself down. Right? And then either you might just instinctively feel like, oh, I need my knees into the chest, or I need to roll a bit. Cool. Follow that instinct. Otherwise, just hug the knees in close, sort of like a upside down child's pose. And then release the feet, moving into your final resting pose. Right? Now, traditionally, that's corpse pose. Right? But I'm also going to offer that sometimes it's constructive rest pose. Feet on the floor wide, knees knocked together. Right? If you need a bit more grounding, right, maybe you run a little bit anxious, you can rest a thick blanket, maybe you've got a bolster, right along your belly. And just take a couple minutes now. Let everything settle. It's all right if the mind wanders a little bit. That's what the mind is good to do most of the time. So now you're just practicing something called conscious rest. You become the witness of whatever is happening internally or around you. bring gentle action back to the breath. This time breathing towards your chest. Out through the mouth. 2 more, bringing more movement and energy into the body. Now, having moved the body, focused through movement, do another mindful check-in. How's your mood? Almost regardless of the source of our tension, yoga meets us where we are, in whatever condition of intensity, and then we move forward from there. And any high voltage or low voltage experience becomes more even, right, with that quality of sukha. Feel free to stay longer if you want. If you're ready to move on, bend your knees. If you have anything resting over the body, you can move that out of the way. And then carefully roll to your side. And with a heavy hand on the floor, press yourself up. Right, crossing the legs or sitting in a way that feels comfortable to you. Just take a second of pause before we end session formally. All together now, as you inhale, reach your arms out wide in a circle, all the way up, joining the palms. Exhaling, palms come down to the heart center as a gesture of recognition. Right, in the yogic tradition, this is called Anjali Mudra, and it's how we recognize ourselves for just showing up, putting it in the work to feel a little better, to even out our rough edges. So thank you, Yogi, for joining me here today. Hari Om Tat Sat. Good to see you, and hope to see you back soon. Stay well.